Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Camper Report. And today we have one of my favorite guests coming on for the third time, I believe, on the show, Rob Schuh. He has his own channel. I think it's just Rob Schuh for right now. It's growing amazingly. Go check that out. Rob Schuh on YouTube, doing great things over there. We're going to talk 49ers Packers today. How are you doing, Rob Schuh? I'm excited to have you on as always because it's always a joy to talk Niners and football with you. Since you're one of the smartest people I know, most educated people about the 49ers I know. So it's always a pleasure. How are you doing?
I appreciate that. I'm doing well. A hell of a lot better after the 49ers beat the Dallas Cowboys. I'm old school, right? When I was your age, the Dallas Cowboys were the hated rival of the San Francisco 49ers. So I grew up in that era. I went to a lot of games. I got my heart broken by the Dallas Cowboys. Finally got over the hump to beat them in the 94 season on the way to that last Super Bowl win. And so it was very sweet indeed to come out of this one with a win. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all. And we will touch on that, I am sure. But it was a win. And the 49ers advance. And they go on to frickin' Lambeau Field. I mean, it's 90s me perfect dream that you get to beat the Cowboys and a chance to advance to the NFC Championship game by beating the Green Bay Packers. It'll be sweet, man.
Yeah, and can you tell them you're going to be there at Lambeau?
I am. So this little map here behind me shows all of the stadiums in the NFL, and I've put a pin in every single one that I've been to. I think I'm up to 17 or 18 stadiums right now, but I still have quite a few remaining, and some of the ones I've been to have now been decommissioned, right? So I have to go to the new stadium. SoFi Stadium is an example of that. I've yet to be at Lambeau Field. And I always told myself, Ben, if you're going to go to Lambeau Field, you go in January. You go for playoff football. You go when hopefully it's snowing. And I just confirmed in the weather report before the show started, it looks like flurries on Saturday.
Yeah, that seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll touch obviously on that game and much more. But let's get to the first one, obviously. The first topic that we're going to touch on.
Yes.
49ers versus Cowboys last week, started off really good, but then the second half scored 7 points in the third quarter, and that was arguably because the 49ers got a takeaway. So really there was not much offense in the second half at all. What do you think caused the 49ers second half struggles, and how can they fix that for this game? Because I can tell you, against the Packers especially, you're not going to be able to have a whole half where you're dead, No. Packers are the best team in the league. So you're going to have to have all four quarters. You're going to have to compete. So how do they fix it for this game? And what really went wrong in that second half?
Yeah, I think it's important to start and recognize what went well in the first half to try and take away what we were missing in the second. The 49ers stayed on schedule in that first half. They moved the ball consistently. They got the run game going, and Jimmy Garoppolo was very efficient on those third down throws. I believe he completed 3 of 4 or something in close to that in the first half. He was very efficient in that first half. I went back and rewatched it, and I thought to myself, Ben, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it was that good, because at the end of the game, you were left with a very sour taste in your mouth, right? Dallas almost came back, almost stole it from us, and so at the end of the game, you thought, well, that wasn't very good. But if you go back and watch the first half, it's remarkable just how well the Niners were able to move the ball. It's amazing how efficient they were, and to score points on every single possession, that's critical. Now, it's much better to get touchdowns, but when you are able to rack up 16 points on 4 possessions, that's a good day of football. So the first half, great. I give Jimmy Garoppolo an A. I give the 49ers offense an A for efficiency. And then something changes. And it's a weird occurrence. And I agree with you. While Dallas has the number 1 overall offense, and so holding them in check is really something, and they certainly had the weapons they needed to try for the comeback. I agree that you cannot have that stagnation against the Green Bay Packers. That's going to be unacceptable. Aaron Rodgers will make you pay if you do, right? And I agree. The one score for Debo was sort of a perfect storm. You had
Right.
K'Wan Williams pick off the pass, and then
And then
Debo
the next
looks
play.
Kyle Shanahan in the eye and says, "Give me the rock.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
this, boss." And he takes it to the house like the freaking monster that he has been all season long. Praise to Debo. I just cannot say enough positive things about him. But my theory, and this has been forming for some time, is
Right.
that Kyle Shanahan tightens up in these moments. I think you've seen it repeatedly. You've seen it in the Kansas City Super Bowl. You saw it in the Super Bowl for Atlanta. And in those moments, the high pressure moments, he has tended to act somewhat irrationally.
Yeah.
He's made poor decisions,
Right.
bad time management, right? Odd play calling, getting away from the run. All of these things, they're so unique, and each one is such an individualized problem that the only common solution I can find is that Kyle Shanahan is tensing up in those moments, and it's causing him to act irrationally. My hope is that each one of these high pressure moments that the 49ers find themselves in makes it a little bit easier for Kyle Shanahan, makes it a little bit more normalized to be in those types of high pressure moments. And the fact that we got both a high pressure moment, both a near comeback by Dallas, and the win, to me, that was a perfect storm, because you did get that chance to say, oh, well, it tightened up and I did some weird things. We had 4th and an inch, and I decided to add motion to the play call. Why? Was it necessary? No. Did it have its intended effect? Yes. I will give Kyle Shanahan credit for that. He put Trent Williams in motion, and you saw the gentleman over top of Mac. Both had to readjust, and Jimmy got the first down. But it was the penalty because it was an unnecessary motion. You should know not to put in something like that at that moment in time. Jimmy Garoppolo is perfect on quarterback sneaks. He doesn't need the added motion in order to get that first down. I also think that bleeds down to the rest of the team, and primarily Jimmy Garoppolo. You watch him tense up, and when he tenses up, he tends to throw those boneheaded interceptions, right? I mean, it was a simple overthrow to Ayuk, but that was a critically poor time to throw an interception.
To Sherfield. It was Sherfield.
Yes, correct. Overthrew Sherfield.
And then overthrew Brandon Ayuk, but it wasn't a pick.
Right. On the Brandon Ayuk, it was just miss the wide open target. And again, I just think that it is mental lapses that are occurring for the 49ers. So the way in which they approach this, I believe, to fix it, is to stay in control of this game. You can't allow Green Bay to start to get back into it, because my fear is that produces the snowball effect where things begin to go poorly and the psyche kicks on. But again, the fact that they got out of this one alive has to give them some hope. It has to give them that knowledge that they can stop the bleeding if it happens.
Yeah, and if you look at it, like going back to what you said, Kyle Shanahan in the playoffs, like as a head coach, he actually doesn't have that much experience. Like except from that one Super Bowl run, he really doesn't. And so you put him in those situations more often, and he's going to get more battle tested. And this is why I think the reason why I actually like this season almost better than the Super Bowl season is because the Super Bowl season, we were blowing everyone out on the way to the playoffs. This season, they're closer games,
Yes.
So, I mean, in my thing, if we can beat the Packers, if we can have a full 4 quarters, if we can beat them in Lambeau, we are going to the Super Bowl. Like, that's the hardest place to play, no doubt about it. So,
I think you're right.
Right, exactly. So, and then Cowboys, I mean, that game, that second half, I think it was partly the Cowboys too, because I think they found a way to get more pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo in the second half.
Yes.
They were controlling the clock a little bit better in the second half.
They evened out time of possession a little bit in the second half.
Yeah, exactly. Now they still were like 7 minutes off. I think the 49ers had like 7 minutes more.
Right.
But yes, they did even it off. And so that's what I think happened. And again, I mean, like I said earlier, Green Bay Packers are going to give you the full 4 quarters. They have people coming back from injuries. This is the healthiest Green Bay Packers team we will see.
Yes.
Jair, like, you just can't like make mistakes. But again, the play calling has to be perfect in this game. And I think what the 49ers are going to try to do in the second half is run the ball, right?
Yes.
But
they should.
They have to run the ball. But if you get down, that's where it's going to put Kyle Shanahan in a tough situation. Is if you get down and you're down in the second half, then you necessarily can't run the ball. So that's where I'm a little bit scared. Is if we get down beginning of the second half, then you have to rely on Jimmy Garoppolo's arm, and then it might be harder to make those better decisions, and it might end up what happened. Like, how do you say this? It might end up being what happened in the second half with Dallas.
Yeah, my
you know what
hope
I mean.
is that the 49ers come out quickly. They're the team that is battle tested, that has been in playoff win mode for 3 weeks. The Packers have been resting, and that has benefited them. You mentioned it. They are the healthiest they have been all year, getting what appears to be, with a limited practice today, Dave Bakhtiari back. He was the only man on the 53-man roster that didn't practice the day before. So everybody else was already healthy. Now you bring David Bakhtiari back. It's fair to wonder if the rest and the players coming off injury, if there'll be any rust for the Green Bay Packers. The Niners must capitalize on that. They must come out early, punch Green Bay in the mouth, and stay in it throughout. Because to your point, if they get behind to Aaron Rodgers and behind enough to where they need to abandon the run, then there's trouble. The only hope at that point, in my book, would be the fact that the Niners have nothing to lose. Jimmy Garoppolo may be playing his last game as the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
He should just throw caution to the wind, right? I mean, what do you have to lose at this point?
Yeah, that's a good point you make. So, I mean, that's I think, right. I mean, you could, and that's the worst case scenario of the 49ers. If you make Jimmy Garoppolo pass it tons of times, and then you end up, it ends up snowballing, and it ends up happening what happened in the Dallas game in the second half.
Right.
So the next thing, obviously, George Kittle, it hasn't been involved in the last few games. Like, and this is a question to me, like, have defenses figured him out? Like, that's my question to you. Have defenses figured him out, or are the 49ers actually saving him? Because that's always the valid excuse. Oh, they're just saving him for the playoffs or when it matters most. Or have defenses really figured him out? But either way, how do the 49ers get George Kittle involved in the offense?
I believe it's been more of a case of needing him in pass protection. I think it has been the 49ers coming up against some pretty phenomenal pass rushes. And, the game against the Rams, obviously you had Trent Williams out. You had Colton McKivitz making the start there. It's a miracle that he was able to hold up. But again, you needed to keep George Kittle in on more plays to chip defenders on his way out, to ease up on Colton McKivitz. And then again, with Micah Parsons, he became the focal point for the 49ers offense in neutralizing Dallas's pass rush. So I do think when you see less of Kittle in the pass game, it's because you're seeing more of Kittle in run and pass blocking. So it's a trade-off. It becomes what's more important. I do think that Jimmy Garoppolo is a far better quarterback when he's not facing significant pressure. In particular, when he's not facing pressure directly in his face from the interior. I think that's more the worry in this game. Zadarius Smith is coming back, and I don't expect a lot of rust from an edge rusher. Much like when Dee Ford would finally be healthy enough to play, like, all you have to do is beat the man in front of you, get to the quarterback, and sack him. You're not a part of a unit where you need to, collaborate with other guys and work in unison. You are one man, attack, win, go get the quarterback. So I don't suspect, but all that to say, I think more interior pressure is going to come from their nose tackle, from Clark, right? Kenny Clark. Yes, indeed. He's a monster. He wrecked the first game and will continue to try and wreck this game as well. But that's interior pressure, and you're not going to use Kittle in that regard. That's going to come up against how much has Mac improved from week 3 until now. Yeah, right. So I would expect that Kittle does get a little more run in the pass game this time around, that he's not needed to protect on the edges quite as much. We will still use him for run blocking, but I would expect him to have a better performance, somewhere in the 4 to 5 receptions, 60 to 75 yard range.
Well, and it's a good matchup. It always has been. I don't think the linebacker position is as strong for the Packers as the defensive line position. I also just think, like, Deebo Samuel, right? You could actually do 60% of the things that you do with Deebo Samuel with George Kittle. You could throw it out to the flat, over the middle, just a few things you could now. Deebo Samuel's a different person. You can't
Yes.
run George Kittle as you've run Deebo Samuel, but a few of the things they do with Deebo Samuel, you can do with George Kittle. So I think just incorporating him in those little plays could really make a big difference, because then it keeps the Packers guessing. Is it going to
Yes.
go to Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, or George Kittle? And that, like, the past few games, we've kind of been one-dimensional. You know what I'm saying? So that's really my biggest thing is maybe put his role, Deebo Samuel's role, maybe put him in Deebo Samuel's role. Even though he can't do everything Deebo Samuel can, he can do at least 40% of what Deebo Samuel can. So I would expect them to give him a little bit more targets. I want to see him at least get 45, 50 yards in this game.
Yeah, I think that is putting it well. And I would agree that he can do a lot of the things that Deebo does. Where he doesn't excel quite as much is that acceleration, the 0 to 60.
Right.
Deebo, it's just unreal, his ability to get around the corner. But to your point of over the middle when he's already in space, George is a long strider. Once he, like Colin Kaepernick was, once those legs are going in those long strides, he is moving. He is cooking. He may not get up to speed very fast, but if you can get him the ball in space while he's already on the run, that is yak yardage.
Yep. And again, you're going to have to need it today, because pass rush is going to be coming strong, and you might not be able to do as many things you did with Deebo, because they're going to be focusing in on Deebo in this game. So it could be really key, way more key than the Dallas Cowboys. And again, we might get to this later, but the Packers defense is a lot more disciplined than the Cowboys defense, and that will be that will be a hard task as well, because they will be disciplined on Deebo Samuel. So
yeah, he will certainly be the focal point. Everyone's attempting to take him away. He's such a star that you just limit him, much like the Niners will attempt to do on the other side of the ball with Devonte Adams.
Devonte Adams. Yeah. So, Nick Bosa, let's touch on this. He's expected to play, but he won't even be full strength, right? So, I mean, there was a report that said he was expected to play, but if the 49ers don't have, let's say he doesn't play, if the 49ers don't have Nick Bosa for the Packers game, how will they scheme the defense around him, like without him? I mean, that's going to be key. So.
Yeah, it will absolutely be key. And it does sound as if he's trending in the right direction. So D'Amico Ryans today said Nick's come a long way. He's come along well and is going through the protocol. Hopefully he will be fine by the end of the week. We definitely need him out there. So I want to echo what D'Amico says there, that the 49ers are far better off with Nick Bosa in there. Between the two, with it looking like Bosa and Warner were both questionable to make this game at the end of the conclusion to Dallas, I thought to myself, well, which one would be a bigger loss for the 49ers? And I think it's hands down Nick Bosa, because Jordan Willis will be out. It seems like he's got a multiple week high ankle sprain. And so some of your depth at edge rusher is already gone. Now, if you're down two players, take out of it that it is your star player. Just being down two edge rushers would lessen the rotation. The Niners would have fewer fresh bodies to throw at Green Bay. And that's what Chris Kosarick likes to do, is rotate the guys coming in fresh so that they're coming in waves at the quarterback. To me, I think that with the 49ers, it's very impressive that they achieved their highest pressure rate of the season, close to 50% in a game where Nick Bosa missed half of the game. That's wild to me. And it speaks to, again, Chris Kosarick being able to coach up those role players along the line. It speaks to the interior pressure that we're now getting from Arden Key, from DJ Jones on early downs, Eric Armstead. And so I think what that half allowed us to see was this unit can play as an entire unit together and bring pressure very efficiently. So it would be a huge loss if Bosa is out. But to me, it was actually a confidence booster to see what this defensive line was able to do without Bosa. Then sprinkle Bosa back in, forget about it.
And the funny thing is I didn't even notice. Like, I thought Nick Bosa, I didn't watch probably the half of the second quarter because I was doing something, but I didn't notice Nick Bosa was gone until midway through the third. Or almost the fourth quarter. I was like, in my post-game show, I was like, I think he went out like end of the third quarter or something, but I didn't even notice he was gone for a whole quarter. And that's how like good they were at filling in. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a big loss, like you said, but I do expect the 49ers to make like maybe bring a little bit more blitzes, even though you're going to need a lot of people in coverage. But bringing blitzes on Aaron Rodgers, that's always been his weakness. And if
Yeah.
we can get that successfully, that could be another way we win this game.
It could. My hope is that, because I do think that that is a fundamental change that happens with Bosa in or Bosa out, is the number of blitzes that we would see with Bosa out would go up, I would say.
Yep.
And I do think that while getting home on Rodgers is a critical component in forcing him out of his comfort zone, I worry about Rodgers' ability to spot that blitz and make
Exposing
the 49ers
it.
pay. So I would love having Bosa there allows you to get pressure with just 4 D linemen and not have to bring Jimmy Ward or Fred Warner or another blitzer in disguise coverage, because you watch Aaron Rodgers make teams pay all the time as well.
Yep. And I mean, who would start on the 2 defensive ends?
I would think it would be Samson Ebukam and Charles Amenahue.
Oh, okay.
But you may actually see a situation where it would flex 2 spots, right? You would have Samson continue to start at the right edge, and then left edge, you might move Eric Armstead out to play edge, and then you'd have DJ Jones and Arden Key starting on the interior. So it could potentially screw up 2 spots and move 2 players out of their ideal position.
Yeah, that would suck. Yes. A part of me wishes we had a player like Micah Parsons who could play both linebacker and edge rusher.
Right.
So you can kind of move him around. We really don't have a linebacker who can do that. So it's just a luxury to have, but part of me wants that because then you can really move him around in case there's a hole on the defense.
Yes, you got to love the Swiss Army knife players. And that's, I think, why D'Amico was giving such praise, and DJ Jones as well, both praising Eric Armstead and his usefulness to this defense being underappreciated, because he can play multiple positions and he plays them all very well. He's better on the interior, as we're seeing. Paired with DJ Jones, we now have the number 1 rush defense in the league. And, oh, by the way, those guys still get after the quarterback, which is wild, to both be able to stop the run and be able to get after the passer. That's phenomenal on early downs.
Well, and the defense, again, going back to this Packers game, they're a lot different than they were the first time they met the Packers.
Yes.
Like, this team is completely different. First time they met the Packers, there was a lack of pass rush. The corners weren't as good. We were injured. The run game wasn't as good. So, like, it does give me a little bit of hope, even though it is in Lambeau. It does give me a little bit of hope that we can maybe put up a little bit more of a fight than we did last time, and we still almost won last time. So it gives me a little bit of hope.
Totally agreed. It was a laundry list of things that are different. Elijah Mitchell was out. Brandon Ayuk was still mostly missing in action.
Yes.
Alex Mack was a mess at the beginning of the year, right? He has rounded into a phenomenal center. He's playing like he was in 2016 at this point.
Right.
Debo was mainly just a wide receiver. He had not exploded into the wide back role. The run defense was suspect. Josh Norman was starting at cornerback. It has changed so much since week 3. It's wild.
And Demonjor Lenore.
Yes, Demonjor Lenore was out there getting tested.
Yeah. And he was a lot of times on Devonte Adams, which I would, yeah.
That is not a favorable matchup for the 49ers.
No. So, Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously a sprained throwing shoulder, something. There's always an excuse for it, but whatever it is, sprained throwing shoulder, it's a lot of people, like, I'll lay it out for you. Trey Lance, a lot of people want, like, well, not a lot of people, but some people want, like, why doesn't Trey Lance start this game, right?
Right.
But the thing is my argument is, and this is the one time where I'm like, I almost wouldn't start Trey Lance because it is in Lambeau. So that's my question to you. Is an injured Jimmy Garoppolo actually better than a fresh Trey Lance? We've seen, Jimmy Garoppolo has thrown all these picks and it acts like a rookie, but Lambeau Field, I mean, I guess the 49ers were able to do it almost with a much lesser team, CJ Beathard, a few years ago, but that was with a much lesser Packers. They weren't that good that year.
Right.
So,
right.
Lambeau Field, would it be smart to put Trey Lance over Jimmy Garoppolo, or is an injured Jimmy Garoppolo better than Trey Lance at this point?
I think in answer to is an injured Jimmy Garoppolo better than a healthy Trey Lance is sort of a depends, right? It depends on the severity of the injury. I'm led to believe by the statement of Mike McDaniel today that Jimmy Garoppolo is throwing the ball well. So as long as Jimmy is able to make all the throws, then I think you go with I know the Niners go with the veteran in this one, because Kyle Shanahan has been consistent in saying that, it is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo so long as he can go. And I think this comes back to, yes, the poise that he has as a veteran. Yes, his in-game experience, his familiarity with opposing defenses, being able to adjust at the line. Right. But most importantly, it's his familiarity with the playbook. Let's remember that Kyle Shanahan is the kind of head coach that believes he gives you the answers to the test. If you're his quarterback, he gives you the answers before you walk in there to take that test. All you need to be able to do is hit those throws. But with Trey Lance, it's fair to assume, because Kyle doesn't have that same level of trust, because Trey doesn't have that same level of understanding of the offense, that Kyle would feel some pressure to call plays that Trey was comfortable with, to call the plays that Trey is good at this point in time. And that would limit his ability to attack the Packers in the way he wants to attack them. I go back to Steve Young's interview with Matt Mayoko, wherein he talks about Kyle Shanahan, just like his father before him, smells the weakness in the defense and then attacks it like a raw steak, like a dog on a raw steak. And that is what you want from him. That's when he's his best, when he's attacking a team, when he gets on Sean McVay and has the ownership of the Rams. That's what you want to see. And I think Jimmy gives him that opportunity. So thankfully, we have Lance. Yeah. We have a player that is used to cold weather, growing up in North Dakota, that certainly has the skill set to come in and contribute. But I don't think he's called upon unless it becomes obvious in game that Jimmy can't really go. Isn't 100%.
And again, I mean, if he like you said, if he starts throwing picks, Jimmy Garoppolo, that's bad, because I'll bring up an interesting stat for you. 2-6 when Jimmy Garoppolo throws an interception.
Right.
And he hasn't had the best few games, 3 games, 5 picks or whatever it is.
Yep.
So not great, but at the same time, it's like, can you trust Trey Lance? This is the question, is he in Kyle Shanahan's trust tree? It's a big thing. You're going to have a huge crowd there. It's going to be snowing there. It's just going to be, I really consider it rough to put him in that position. And then if he loses, everyone comes for his hide. So I really make it, I find it hard to believe that would happen.
I would agree with you on that.
I mean, hold on. So Waruna says, I mean, the dream, it's a positive. I mean, the dream before that said, thoughts on Mike McDaniel and Adam Peters potentially being gone. McDaniel to Miami and Peters to New York.
Both would be tragic. Yeah. I mean, Mike McDaniel is a weirdo, but he's our lovable weirdo, right? His awkward joking at the beginning of press conferences, that's my hope, is that what you see in the press conference where he's a little bit socially awkward, that's going to come through in an NFL interview. And whomever is deciding, if it is the brass at Miami, they're going to need to say to themselves, is he a little too socially awkward to be a leader of men for us? Like, does he have is he genius enough to overcome that socially awkward nature? And I hope that they say to themselves, no, he's not. I think they'd be wrong about that. I think that he is a leader of men, that people recognize his level of genius. And I think the players like his sense of humor. That's the vibe I get from Mike McDaniel. So I think that would be a loss, but I'm hopeful that they'll overlook him because of his quirky nature. Adam Peters, it's hard to definitively say, but I get the sense that a lot of the big hits we've made later in the draft have something, if not everything, to do with Adam Peters. I was thrilled when I saw New York moved on to the second interview with somebody else. I want to say maybe it was even Rand coming out of the Niners organization as well. I saw that first and I thought, oh, good. They're not interviewing Adam Peters for the second level. And then, boom, it comes out that, nope, Adam Peters has advanced to the second round of interviews as well. he comes across as a guy that, if I interviewed him, I'd certainly hire him for the position. So I'm more worried that we will lose Adam Peters this go round than I am McDaniel or D'Amico Ryans. But I think all three are a possibility, and that's scary.
Yeah. Let's see here. We have a good process of selecting and building coaches and players as well as administration. Amin says, if McDaniel became a head coach, his opening press conference would be equivalent to Nick Sirianni and Adam Gase.
Yeah, he might do the crazy eyes. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know what he's meaning there because I didn't watch their opening press conference, so I'm not sure what he's meaning. Real quick, before we close out on this last topic, I have one more stat. Well, not a stat, but the Packers also, if Trey Lance were to start in this game, Packers have a good pass defense. I mean, their pass defense, 6.7 yards per, I think, completion, which is 7th in the league, or no, 10 yards per completion, which is 9th in the league. So that's really good. Packers are a very good pass defense, and that would, I think, with pressure from the new defensive linemen, I think they would probably try to do a lot of different things, mix up coverages if Trey Lance was on the field and really get him confused. And that's why I don't know. It's a risky situation. So.
It is. I'd be surprised to see Trey out there. I'll be surprised. I've been calling for it for a long time and would still love to see it. Just bring Trey in for a few snaps. I mean, at a bare minimum, right? Get him in there to contribute in the game. I understand that Kyle Shanahan doesn't like to disrupt his own rhythm. I don't think he's going to do that, but you could see bringing him in for just a couple of snaps where he's able to stress the defense and provide something. Again, it's very limited. You're not asking him to do much. You can, roll him out to one side of the field, cut his reads in half, and really simplify it for him. Give him a chance to use his legs, put him in play action. Hopefully it'll be second and short in between the 40s. But I just don't think Kyle Shanahan's going to do that. He's been prioritizing winning right now, and he believes Jimmy Garoppolo gives him the better chance to win. And he's also prioritized secondarily the development of Trey Lance. And to your point, throwing him in against the Green Bay Packers could be detrimental to his development.
Right. Real quick, Ikim, are you meeting up with Grant in Green Bay?
I don't know yet. I don't know where Grant is going to be staying. I am going to be outside of Green Bay, staying in Appleton.
That's smart.
Just about 20 minutes outside of Green Bay. I'm flying. I have yet to finalize. I may fly into Chicago and drive. I may fly into Milwaukee and drive. But Grant and I will talk because we need to reschedule our Friday show because I will be on an airplane headed to Green Bay. And so maybe we will talk about doing an in-person version of the show. Maybe we can get us both on the same screen.
That would be great. So, a few more topics because I know you've had a long day today. So a few more topics just to quickly blow by them, and we'll see if we have any more time for questions. But how do the 49ers avoid getting shredded by Aaron Rodgers and Devonte Adams a second time? This was the initial headline of the show, really. How do they lose the second time? Last time, that was a big thing. Like, they were getting destroyed that second time. That's why we lost that game.
Yep.
So how do they avoid that? Getting shredded a second time?
Well, first, I must say it's hard to do. It is hard to avoid getting shredded by Aaron Rodgers and Devonte Adams. Yeah. There's a reason they're so damn good. There's a reason that Aaron Rodgers is always in the conversation, seemingly, for MVP of the league, and why there's a good chance he may win it this year. And Devonte Adams, I mean, he's a fellow alumni of Palo Alto High School, where I went to school as well. So Devonte and I have that in common. He did shred us. 12 balls for 132 yards and a touchdown the last time. A couple of those key receptions coming on that last drive, knocking us out with that field goal. Unbelievable. I mean, when you listen to D'Amico, he simplifies it. He talked about this today. Somebody's going to have to make a play, and that's what's going to come down to. We go up and make a play. So I have a little more faith in the Niners' ability to do that right now because they have, in fact, found a cornerback pairing that's suitable, right? That actually should put some fear into offenses. I think Ambry Thomas will be an interesting one to watch every time he is matched up against Devonte Adams. I see considerable growth from him week to week, and the type of ego, the type of brash nature that you want to see in a good cornerback.
Yes.
When he came up in front of the presser and he said, I have arrived, right? Like, this was my moment. I had practices where I started picking off balls, and John Lynch looked at me and said, now you're cooking. And he said, yes, I have finally gotten myself into the football mindset and never looked back from there. So I do think that that's going to be key is those matchups. But it's a multiple phased approach for me. Number one, make the Packers one-dimensional. Take away the run. We have the number one rush defense in the league. Take it away. Take it away. Force Aaron Rodgers into obvious passing situations, 3rd and long, and then allow the front four to pin their ears back and just get after him. The hope is that Nick Bosa is playing so that you get pressure with that front four. Because, again, I think you start to bring the additional rushers, and that's a potential for... Yeah, he may just see Devonte with a fade route on the outside one-on-one. He's going to take that shot every time, and Devonte is going to win that 80% of the time.
And a flag most of the time as well.
And I think he will be flag hunting early. I do think he'll test us because it worked the last time. So you got to make the 49ers prove that they have improved in that, that they have solidified their secondary to no longer commit those pass interference penalties. And then I think it's about attacking the head of the monster, the head of the beast. Get after Aaron Rodgers. Once you've done all that, if you've taken away the run, if you're getting after Rodgers, if you're hitting him, taking him to the ground, you still have to bracket Devonte Adams. You have to double him consistently. You have to have safety help. You have to have the underneath linebackers attempting to take away the shorter passes. It's going to take everything and the kitchen sink thrown at Devonte Adams to slow him down. Yeah,
and weird stat, this season, every time Devonte Adams has gotten over 100 yards, they are 7-0. So that is a key thing to keep in mind. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, but... and then, again, last time they played him, you've got to remember, D'Amico Ryans was only in his, I believe, 3rd game as a defensive coordinator.
That's a fact.
He has a lot more experience. And again, people are saying, like, obviously takeaways is nice. You know, you got to take the ball away from Aaron Rodgers. Well, guess what? Like, Aaron Rodgers, the last, I believe it's 7 games, has not thrown a single pick, and I think has like 20 TDs. He's only thrown 4 picks all season long. So that's only way you're going to get a takeaway is really with pressure. And I mean, that's going to be, so the 49ers really their only thing. And how did they beat them in the past? With pressure. So you have to do that. It's going to be cold. It's going to be rough. But again, and the Packers have a lot of, like, even if you take away Devonte Adams, this is the concerning thing as well. Even if you take away Devonte Adams, they do have other receivers, Adam Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, whatever. So you have other receivers that can also kill you as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, you basically have to pick your poison. How are they going to beat you? Is it going to be the run game? Are you going to go all out to beat Devonte Adams? I think they're just going to try to shut down the run game and really bring pressure. But again, it's going to have to be done with 4 people. That's how the 49ers have gotten it done. That's how they got it done last week. It is nice that you play 2 teams back to back who both have stacked receiving cores. Like, that is really nice. But again, you're playing a Packers team. Exactly. You're playing a Packers team that is a lot more disciplined than a Cowboys team. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically what you have to do. I don't think there's any other way to sum it up. And again, stopping the run, I think, will be easier because we are, like you said, the number 1 run defense.
Yeah, we set up to do these things nicely. We have the number 1 rushing defense, so that sets up nicely to contain the run, even though you have a very, very formidable 1-2 punch with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones there. And then we have the type of 4-down linemen in droves, in units that can come in and get after Aaron Rodgers, potentially without bringing the extra rushers, right? We are one of the teams in the league that bring additional pressure the fewest, and we're able to get home with just those 4D linemen. So if we're able to do those two things, it makes it easier to slow Aaron Rodgers, Devonte Adams. But it's near impossible to stop them altogether. They will get theirs on some level.
Right. Kim says, Rob, load up on that indoor tailgate buffet. I got it the last time I saw a game at Lambeau.
Yes, Kim reached out to me with an email at 49ers mailbag at gmail.com, and he hit me with the buffet that's right by the stadium. It allows you to be indoors. If you pay for the VIP, you can get some restrooms available to you. I mean, this is good insider information that Kim has provided me as a resident of the state of Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Jimmy cannot make a mistake against Green Bay. Yeah, they're 2-6 when he throws an interception this season. I didn't know that, but it would make sense for sure.
Yeah, the other stat that I'll throw out there is Jimmy has thrown an interception. He's, you said it, in the last 3 games, 5 picks.
Yeah.
5. Jimmy has never thrown an interception in 4 consecutive games. And so he is due for a clean game. He has never thrown an interception in 4 straight. He's thrown one in 3 straight. So now it's time for a clean game. Good Jimmy.
Okay. Well, before we let you go, what is your final game score for this game? We've broken it all down. What is your final game score?
Yeah, I see this one breaking out in the 49ers' favor. I think that we have talked about all of the things that the Niners need to do in order to be successful. They need to come out quickly. They cannot fall behind in this one. They can't allow the Packers to make them one-dimensional. So for the 49ers, it's about coming out early, establishing the run, getting into those 3rd down and manageable distance. And Jimmy's going to need to be efficient. He's going to need to have 4 quarters of what we saw in the first half against Dallas. And even doing all of those things, even being able to stop Green Bay's rushing attack, even doubling, bracketing Devonte Adams and limiting him as best you can, I still think this one comes down to the wire. Throughout the week, as I saw people's predictions, the ones that rung most true to me were those that have the Niners winning, but within 1 to 4 point margin of victory, because I think this one is going to be tight. I'm going advantage Niners, and I'm picking a final score, Niners 27, Packers 25.
That's good. And I mean, again, the Niners do match up. Like we've said all these things, Aaron Rodgers, Devonte Adams, they do match up pretty good with the Packers, red zone offense. Do you know their red zone offense is number 1, the Niners red zone offense?
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers red zone defense is 29th. It's one of the worst. So that's interesting. Wait, I could real quickly check that, but
double check that. While you're doing that, let me say that while we have a very balanced offense and defense, our weakness is special teams. But there are teams that do have worse special teams out there, and the Packers are one of them. They are dead last in special teams. So even though our special teams is rough, the Packers is even worse.
Yeah, so it is 29th. I wrote it down and everything. But another thing is we do match up. It always has been the run game against running backs, 4.3 against regular running backs. Deebo Samuel, 4.7 yards against just like all ball carriers or whatever. So they're actually a pretty bad run game. If we can run the ball, obviously their pass rush is good, but it's just like the Dallas game. I feel like the Dallas the Dallas defensive line was good at getting pressure as well, but we were able to run the ball on them and really make them make fast decisions.
What we saw in the first half against Dallas is very much what I'm looking for the Niners to try the entire game. I will be interested to see if we run directly at the strength of the defense, whether we're running power into Kenny Clark to attempt to minimize his ability to rush the passer, or whether we'll stick to the outside edge and target someone more like Zadarius Smith, who may be coming back in and have a little bit of rust and may not want to lay those hits on the running backs in the cold weather.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a good point. My game score, I would still say the Packers. I think it's going to be very similar to last game. I think it's going to be lower scoring than last game. I'm going to say 24-23. I'm going to say
Nice.
that because I don't know. I think it's going to be very close to what last game was, but Lambeau, it's going to be hard to come in and really, it's like slaying a dragon. It's going to be
Yes.
so cold there. It's going to be different. It's going to be a different game than we've seen the 49ers. Because again, the 49ers have faced the Packers the last 3 or 4 times in San Francisco or
Right.
in Santa Clara. So it's
Yep.
going to be a lot different. I expect to see a different game.
It will be very cold. If you see me on TV, all you're gonna see is my little eyes as I peer through my hood because I am bundling up. I'm going like 7 layers. I'm gonna be drinking hot chocolate. Like I will do everything I can to stay warm.
One last stat that, yeah, I mean, I would assume so, but one last stat. Ekim brings up a good stat here. San Francisco is 10-3 when they get 0.5 sacks a game this season.
Whew. Man, you would think that the Niners will get home against Rodgers at least once. I would predict more along the lines of 3 to 5 sacks in this one. I mean, the Niners are cooking along that defensive line. And I do think you see a different Aaron Rodgers when he gets hit. You see him shooting those dirty looks over at the sideline. You see him yelling at fellow members of the offensive line. It gets ugly for him when he's under duress. That could be a critical turning point in this game.
Yeah. Well, everyone, 49ers versus Packers. We basically broke it all down. That is Rob Schuh. You can find him at The Left Shoe on Twitter. It's just Rob Schuh on YouTube. Again, I mean, do you want to find a name for your YouTube channel, or is it just good as your regular name? I was wondering about
I think
that.
I like it being my name because it allows me to go whatever direction I want. You know what I mean? I stole that from the idea that Grant has just had his channel as Grant Cohn.
Yeah. Well, everyone, this has been a lot of fun. Always a great, I always love doing shows with Rob Schuh. So thanks for coming on, Rob.
A pleasure, Ben. Always a pleasure.
That has been the show, everyone. Thanks for watching. Again, the game will be on Saturday at like 5:30, I believe.
I think 5:15 on Saturday.
5:15. Yep. So we'll see you guys then. I'll probably be doing a pregame show, but until next time, everybody, go Niners. Hopefully they get to the NFC Championship game. Second time in 3 years that we've made the playoffs. So let's go Niners, and we'll see you guys later.